Every morning I put on two masks. The first is at home when I look in the mirror and see who my family thinks I am. An old woman, Eleanor Brooks, 68 years old, a useless addition to a house in a quiet Glendale neighborhood. The other is in the car, morphing into Eleanor Brooks, CEO of Brooks Construction, one of the city's most successful construction companies. It's a normal Tuesday. I get up at 600 in the morning, brew myself coffee, and make avocado toast. My breakfast is lonely and quiet. The house is spacious, 3 stories high, with a garden I once planted with my own hands. It is now maintained by a gardener. Another detail my daughter Sophia doesn't know. She thinks I dig it myself because I have nothing to do in retirement. At 7:30, I leave the house, get in my old Ford, and drive to a garage 2 blocks away. There's a real car waiting for me there. A black Lexus with tinted windows. This little ritual of changing cars is something I've been doing for 15 years. Sophia has never noticed. Brooks Construction's office is located in downtown Glendale, a glass tower of 26 stories. My company occupies the top 3 floors. As I enter through the main entrance, the security guard nods respectfully. "Good morning, Miss Brooks." "Morning, Marcus. How's the family?" "Junior's in college, ma'am. Thanks to your scholarship program." I'm smiling. Marcus is one of hundreds of employees whose children we support. Waiting for me in my office is Lauren Mitchell, my assistant for 8 years. She's younger than my daughter, but she respects me in a way Sophia never did. "The morning reports are ready," she says, handing me a folder. "You have a meeting with Coastal Development at 900, then lunch with the mayor at 1200, and the board of directors at 3. "Thank you, Lauren." "Coffee already ordered?" "Almond milk, laddie." My office is a large room with panoramic windows that look out over Glendale. I grew up in this town in a small house on the outskirts. My father worked in a factory. My mother was a housewife. No one expected me to build an empire. I sit down at the dark oak desk and open the folder. Figures, graphs, plans. This is my real life. Here I am respected. My word is law. Nearly 200 people work under me and thousands more at our construction sites across the state. Lauren brings coffee and reminds me, "Don't forget that Sophia called 3 times today. Something about dinner on Thursday." I sigh. Thursday is the weekly family dinner. Sophia insists on it, even though it's torture every time for both of us. I say. "Call her and tell her I'll be there." "When are you finally going to tell her?" Lauren's the only one who knows about my double life. "I don't know, Lauren. Maybe never." I look at the picture on the table. Sophia in her college graduation gown. Back then, 15 years ago, I was already the secret owner of Brooks Construction. Started as a small construction firm that my husband Daniel left behind when he died. He died of cancer when Sophia was 16. Our daughter blamed me for not keeping her father safe, for not being as beautiful and confident as the other mothers at her school, for being too simple, too ordinary. The first years after Daniel's death were hard. Money was barely enough. I worked days and nights to keep the small 5-person firm he'd started afloat. Sophia was a difficult teenager then, withdrawn and aggressive. She was ashamed of our situation, of our home, of me. One day, I heard her tell a friend on the phone, "My mother is a nobody, just a dull gray mouse." That day, something in me broke and rebonded at the same time. I vowed to prove that I wasn't a nobody. Not to her, to myself. I started working even harder. I found new clients, expanded the business, hired talented engineers. In 3 years, we grew tenfold. In 5 years, I bought my first competitor. In 10, I became one of Glendale's largest construction companies, but I never told Sophia about it. At first, it was just a reluctance to upset her. She was in college, building her life. Then I noticed how she reacted to successful women with envy and resentment. She chose to play the role of a victim of circumstances, a poor girl who lost her father with a loser mother. That role became part of her identity. And then she met Ethan Caldwell. Ethan is the epitome of everything I despise in men: self-righteous, pompous, megalomaniacal, with no real accomplishments. He works for an insurance company as a middleman, but acts like he runs the world's finances. When Sophia brought him into the house 3 years ago, I immediately sensed something wrong. But my daughter looked at him with loving eyes, and he patted her on the shoulder condescendingly, like a master patting an obedient dog. Their wedding was 2 years ago. I paid for everything secretly, through a series of bills, so my daughter would think the money was from her rich friends. Sophia was happy, and I hoped Ethan would turn out to be better than I thought he was. He turned out to be worse. From the first day after the wedding, he started treating me like a burden. "Your mother called again." He wrinkled his nose. "Maybe she should find some hobby instead of pestering us." Sophia always weakly defended me, but then agreed with him. Mom's just lonely Ethan, you know that. Lonely. Me, running a company with hundreds of millions of dollars in annual sales, with hundreds of employees and dozens of projects. Me, whose name is known by every real estate developer within a 100-mile radius. Me, whose signature on a contract can change the fate of an entire neighborhood. I look at my watch. It's almost 9. Time for the meeting. I put on my jacket, fix my hair. In the mirror, an elegant woman with a straight back and a sharp gaze stares back at me. Here in the office, I am real. Here I am me. In the evening after work, I do my ritual in reverse order. I change in my car, swap the Lexus for an old Ford, remove my makeup. At home, I go back to being old Eleanor, as Ethan once called me, thinking I couldn't hear. Sophia calls me just as I'm about to cross the threshold of the house. Mom, where have you been all day? I called 3 times. I was in the garden. Then I went grocery shopping. I lie habitually. You didn't forget Thursday? Of course not. I'll be there. Just please wear something decent. Ethan invited his boss and his wife. I bite my tongue to keep from saying my closet is worth more than their house. Okay, sweetheart. And don't be late. You were 20 minutes late last time. I'll do my best. Oh, and she stops talking and I hear Ethan's voice in the background. Ethan says you shouldn't tell your stories about the old days. It makes everyone tired. My stories. About how I rebuilt the business after Daniel died. How I worked my ass off to pay for her college. Yeah, that must be awfully boring compared to Ethan's tales of his great achievements in the insurance world. Okay, Sophia. Anything else? No, just be on time? She hangs up. I sit back in my chair and look out at the darkening garden outside the window. Sometimes I wonder why I keep up this masquerade. Why I don't tell them the truth. Why I don't put my card on the table in front of Ethan and watch his face stretch. But I know the answer. Because then I'll see their true faces. Because then Sophia will go from cold daughter to begrudging beggar. Because then Ethan will become my best friend and start asking for small loans. Because I still hope that one day they will love me just for what I am. A silly, naive hope. I make myself dinner, baked fish and vegetables. I turn on the TV, but I don't listen. My thoughts return to how it all began. After Daniel died, when I took over his small company, people looked at me with doubt. A woman in the construction business, a widow with no experience. The first 2 years were hell. Banks turned down loans, clients left for competitors, workers quit. But I was stubborn, maybe too stubborn. I studied at night, read books on business, engineering, marketing. I found a mentor, an old friend of Daniel's, who believed in me. And little by little, things got better. We won the bid to remodel the town library, then to build a new wing of the school. I hired young, hungry engineers, offered them a stake in the company instead of the high salaries I couldn't pay at the time. When Sophia left for college, I could finally breathe free. I didn't have to pretend in front of her every day. I didn't have to hide my late returns from work, my business calls at night, my weekend meetings. She rarely called. She came even less often. I sent her what she thought was Daniel's insurance money and plunged into work. Work didn't disappoint, didn't judge, didn't shame me. The company was growing. We bought competitors, opened new lines of business, entered markets in neighboring cities. I met the mayor, the congressman from our district, everyone who had influence. My name appeared in business magazines, on construction and architecture websites. But Sophia knew nothing. I told her I was living on a pension and a small income from a rental apartment I didn't really own. She wasn't interested in the details. When she moved back to Glendale after college, I thought our relationship would change. But she settled across town, found a job as an accountant at a small company, and visited me once a month, formal visits filled with awkward silences and superficial conversations. And then Ethan showed up, and things got even worse. I glance at the calendar on the wall. My birthday is 2 weeks away, 69 years, almost 7 decades of life. The last 20 of which I've spent hiding half of myself from the only person I've ever been close to. Sometimes I ask myself if anyone really knows me. The whole me. Probably not. The phone rings again. Lauren's name pops up on the screen. Miss Brooks, sorry to call you so late, but we have a problem with the River Valley project. The contractor says they found archaeological artifacts while digging the excavation again. I sigh. 3rd time this year. Call our lawyers and the Department of Historic Preservation and tell Harris to prepare an alternative development plan in case we have to change the location. Already done. Also, tomorrow's meeting has been moved to 10:00 instead of 9. Thank you, Lauren. You're a real treasure. Good night, Miss Brooks. I hang up the phone and smile. My staff, my real family, the ones who see the real me every day. Tomorrow will be a new day. I will put on my masks again, play my roles. CEO in the office, useless old lady at home. But one day, this game will end. I feel the time is near. Something has to happen. Something that will tear these masks off once and for all. And I'm not sure if I'm dreading it or looking forward to it. A week before my birthday, I sit at the weekly family dinner and watch Ethan devour the steak I've prepared. Sophia barely touches her food. She's back on her diet, the third one this month. Mom, could you cook with less oil next time? She shoves her plate away unhappily. I've gained 2 pounds in the last month. You look beautiful, darling, I say automatically. No, she doesn't. Ethan interjects, keeping his eyes on the steak. All those diets are useless if you keep eating those carbohydrate bombs your mother makes. I clutch my fork so hard my knuckles turn white. Just 6 hours ago, I was negotiating a 100 million contract. Now I'm sitting here listening to my son-in-law criticize my cooking. Next time I'll cook something dietary, I promise, even though I know it's useless. No matter what I cook, Ethan will find something to criticize. Speaking of next time, Sophia looks up from the phone she keeps in her lap under the table. Ethan and I can't make it next Thursday. We have plans? Plans? I repeat indifferently, though something inside of me clenches. Next Thursday is my birthday. Yeah, Ethan's corporate event at work, Sophia says, not even looking me in the eye. It's a very important event. His boss will be introducing him to the regional director. Ethan grins smugly. Yeah, I guess I'm finally getting noticed. Not everyone has to spend their whole life in the same place like some people. This shot is meant for me. Ethan is convinced that I spent my entire life working as a secretary in a small office before retiring. I've never corrected that misconception. Congratulations, I say. I hope everything goes well. But Sophia. I continue after a pause. Thursday is my birthday. My daughter pretends to have just remembered. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, Mom. I totally forgot. Can we celebrate on another day? How about Friday? I look at her and I see the little girl she used to be. The one who drew me a card for every birthday, who woke me up early in the morning to be the first to congratulate me. When did that change? When did I become a burden to her instead of a mother? Of course, I say quietly. Friday is even better. Great. Sophia returns to her phone. Oh, and we were thinking maybe we could go out to a restaurant. Cooking for everyone is so stressful for you, for me, is an excuse. Sophia's actually ashamed of my house, thinks it's old-fashioned. She prefers restaurants where she can impress her friends. Yeah, and I know a great place. Ethan pipes up. Silver Haven opened a month ago. Expensive. But I'll cover the cost. I almost choke on my wine. Silver Haven is right across the street from my company's building. I personally issued the building permit for this restaurant, and I know the owner, Victor Ramsey. He even consulted with me on the interior design. Are you sure this is where you want to go? I ask cautiously. I've heard it's very hard to get reservations. Oh, don't worry. Ethan smirks again. I have connections. One of our insurance company clients knows the manager. Ethan's connections. If he knew I could call Victor directly and get the best table in the room. Okay, I agree. Silver Haven sounds great. After dinner, Sophia and Ethan leave in a hurry. They have movie tickets. I'm left alone with a pile of dirty dishes and heavy thoughts. Tomorrow morning, I have an important meeting with investors, a presentation of a new project that will determine the future of the company for the next 3 years. And I'm standing in the kitchen, washing the plates from which the man who despises me ate. The phone rings as I finish the dishes. It's Lauren. Miss Brooks, I finished the presentation for tomorrow's meeting. Would you like me to send you the files for you to review? Yes, please, Lauren. Oh, and I have an unusual favor to ask of you. Go ahead. Could you make a reservation at Silver Haven for next Friday? Table for 6? Sure. In your name. I'm thinking about it. If I make a reservation under Brooks, Victor will come out to greet me personally. It's too risky. No, under Caldwell, Ethan Caldwell. Ah, okay. Is this for your daughter? Yeah, we're celebrating my birthday? Lauren's quiet for a moment. Miss Brooks, may I say something personal? Of course. Lauren, why do you keep doing this? Why won't you tell them the truth? I sigh. It's a question I ask myself every day. I don't know, Lauren. I guess I'm afraid I'd lose them completely. With all due respect, Miss Brooks, I don't think you can lose what you don't have. Her words hit right in the heart because they're true. I have no real relationship with my daughter. Only appearances, only form without substance. Maybe you're right, I say. But I'm not ready yet. By the way, can you order a cake? Something elegant, not too fancy? Sure. I'll make the arrangements. Thanks, Lauren. I'll see you tomorrow. I hang up the phone and go into the living room. There are pictures on the mantelpiece, Sophia as a child, Daniel and me on our wedding day, my parents. A life that seems so far away now. I wake up in the morning with a headache, a bad sign before an important meeting. But by the time I change cars in my secret garage and pull up to the office, the headache recedes. This is where I'm home. This is where I'm real. The meeting with the investors goes brilliantly. My project, an eco-friendly residential development with a zero carbon footprint, is a delight. By the end of the presentation, 2 investors are ready to sign a preliminary agreement. Eleanor, that's brilliant, says Richard Grant, head of the investment fund. Once again, you are ahead of your time. Thank you, Richard. I smile. The future is green building. We were just the first to realize it. After the meeting, Diane Wong, one of the investors, approaches me. Terrific presentation, Eleanor, as always. By the way, my husband and I are having a little reception next Friday. Nothing formal, just friends. Would you like to join us? Fortunately, I already have plans. A family celebration? Oh, how nice, Diane smiles. Something special, a birthday. I answer. Mine, actually. Eleanor, why didn't you say so? We would have rescheduled the reception. Anyway, happy birthday to you. How old if it's no secret, of course? I laugh. 69. And no, it's not a secret. I'm proud of every year I've lived. Diane shakes her head. It's unbelievable. You look 55 at the most, and so much energy. If my mother ran a company of your size at that age, I'd be proud of her every day. I freeze for a moment. This is it. Something I've never heard Sophia say. Pride, admiration, respect. Thank you, Diane, I say quietly. It means a lot to me. When I get home in the evening, I'm in for a surprise. Sophia is sitting on the porch. Mom, where have you been? I've been calling you all day. I'm sorry, honey. I automatically go into useless old lady mode. I was at Dr. Lee's. Then I went to Clara's. Clara is an imaginary friend I made up for just such occasions. All day. Sophia looks at me incredulously. I've called you 5 times. I left my phone at home? I lie. I forgot to charge it? My daughter sighs in annoyance. Mom, you should always carry your phone with you. What if something happens to you? You're right, dear. I open the door. Come on in. Is it an emergency? Sophia follows me into the house. Yeah. Ethan couldn't get a reservation at Silver Haven for Friday. It's booked for weeks in advance. I make a surprised face. Oh, that's a shame. Why don't we pick another restaurant? No, that's where Ethan really wanted to go. His boss and his boss will be there. Ethan says it's a great chance to make an impression. That's it. My birthday is just a convenient excuse for Ethan to show off for his boss. Maybe we should call again, I suggest. Sometimes there are cancellations. Ethan says he called 3 times. Nothing. Give me the number, and I'll try. Sophia looks at me questioningly. Mom, if Ethan couldn't make the arrangements, how did you? Just give me the number, Sophia. My voice gets harder. I'll at least give it a try. She reluctantly dictates the number. I write it down and promise to call tomorrow. Okay. Sophia stands up. I have to go. Ethan's waiting for dinner. Sure, honey. Tell him I said hi. As soon as the door closes behind her, I call Lauren. Looks like we have a problem with the reservation, I say. My son-in-law called the restaurant and was told it was full. Impossible, Lauren replies. I spoke to Victor personally. He reserved the best table for you under the name Caldwell like you asked. Something's not right here, I'm thinking. Did you tell Victor it was for me? No. Just the name for the reservation? Okay, call him again. Tell him the reservation is for Caldwell for 6 next Friday at 7:00 p.m. And ask him if Ethan Caldwell calls to confirm the reservation, but don't mention me. You got it. Consider it done. Thank you, Lauren. You're saving my birthday. Sophia calls me this morning. Mom, this is unbelievable. Ethan called Silver Haven, and they said they have a reservation for him for next Friday. How did you do that? I smile. Woman's secrets, dear. I just asked politely. He thinks it's a sign that his career is going to take off. He's already invited his boss and his wife and his department director and her husband. 6 people, me, Sophia, Ethan, and 3 of his co-workers and their spouses. It's my birthday. Only Mom. Her voice gets conspiratorial, then's very nervous. It's a big night for his career. So maybe you could, not talk too much? Of course, darling, I say. I'll be very discreet. Thank you, Mom. And, she lowers her voice. Ethan and I are thinking of a present for you. Something special? Something in her tone makes me wary. The last special gift from Ethan was a set of kitchen towels labeled, World's Greatest Grandma. I'm not a grandmother. Sophia doesn't have kids. The days until Friday fly by. I dive into work, trying not to think about the evening ahead. The company has a big new project, the redevelopment of a historic neighborhood in downtown Glendale. On Thursday, the day before my birthday, Lauren and I stay at the office late into the night. Miss Brooks, it's almost midnight, Lauren says. You need to get some rest before tomorrow. We take the elevator down to the underground parking garage. Before getting into the car, I look at the building across the street, Silver Heaven. You can still say no, Lauren says quietly. Make up some excuse and miss your own birthday. I smile sadly. No, Lauren, I'll go. But you're right about one thing. It's time to end this masquerade. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon. At home. I pull out of my closet the dress I've prepared for tomorrow night. Dark blue, elegant, understated. A dress in which I can be both Eleanor the mother and Eleanor the director if need be. On the morning of my birthday, I am greeted at the office with flowers and champagne. My co-workers, my true friends. By evening, my office resembles a flower shop. And not a single call from Sophia. At 500, I start getting ready for dinner. I change in the office, navy blue dress, pearl necklace, low-heeled shoes. You look amazing, Lauren says. You can walk to the restaurant. It's literally across the street. I don't change cars. I don't take off my makeup. I don't put on my useless old woman mask. Today, I go as I am. Eleanor Brooks, CEO of Brooks Construction. The maitre d' meets me at the entrance to the restaurant. I say the name Caldwell, and he escorts me to a table by the window, the best seat in the room. I sit down and wait, looking out at the office building across the street. The windows of my office are lit. Lauren is still at work. At 7:15, Sophia and Ethan show up with two middle-aged couples, the bosses and their spouses. Mom, Sophia kisses me on the cheek. You're here now, and you look not bad. Not bad. The highest praise from a daughter. Thank you, darling, I smile. Decided to wear something special today. Ethan introduces me to his co-workers, and I can see how nervous he is. To him, this isn't my party. It's his chance to impress. We sit down, order drinks, and I have a feeling this night is going to be special. There's something in the air, a premonition of change that can't be stopped. Dinner begins in a tense atmosphere. I sit at the head of the table, but I feel like an extra at my own birthday party. Ethan is being polite to his bosses. Sophia is nodding along, and I sit with a strained smile as I listen to them talk about insurance claims and performance bonuses. Mr. Larson, let me introduce you to my mother-in-law, Eleanor. Ethan points at me with his glass. She turns 69 today. James Larson, a full man with thinning hair, nods at me with polite indifference. Congratulations. It must be nice to be retired. No worries, no responsibilities. I hold back a chuckle. If only he knew that only an hour ago, I signed a contract to build a new shopping center worth $200 million. Yes, it has its advantages. I answer evasively. What did you do before you retired? Maria Larson, James's wife, asks. Before I can answer, Ethan intervenes. Oh, Eleanor was a secretary at some small firm. He says with a touch of disdain. It's no big deal. I see Sophia lower her eyes in embarrassment. She's always been ashamed of my supposed humble career. Actually, I say calmly, I've worked in the construction business. Really? Maria looks interested. What kind of company? I open my mouth to answer, but Ethan interrupts again. Oh, my mom was just on the phone at some tiny family contractor. Nothing of interest. James, have you heard about the new bonus system at head office? The conversation drifts away, and I can feel the irritation building up inside. All my life, I've let people, especially men, interrupt me, speak for me, belittle my accomplishments. In the office, I put a stop to that a long time ago. So why do I continue to tolerate it from my own family? The waiter brings appetizers, artichokes with truffle sauce, beef carpaccio, tuna tartare. The dishes are exquisite, but I can barely taste them. My thoughts revolve around one question: why am I here? Sophia and I would like to say a few words, Ethan suddenly announces, rising from his seat and raising his glass. In honor of my dear mother-in-law's birthday. I look up in surprise. Is he really going to make a toast in my honor? Maybe I've been wrong about him all this time. Eleanor, he turns to me, you've been a part of our lives for many years now. You've always been present with us. And today, on your special day, Sophia and I want to give you something special. Ethan nods to Sophia, and she pulls a wrap package tied with ribbon from her bag. My heart thaws a little. Maybe I really was wrong about them. Sophia holds out the gift to me with a nervous smile. I slowly unwrap the package. Inside is a bright yellow floor cleaning rag with, "For the worst cleaner ever," written in red letters. I freeze. The restaurant becomes quiet. Even the bystanders at the neighboring tables turn to look at us. Is this a joke? I look at Ethan, then at Sophia. Well, sort of. Ethan smirks. We know how much you like to clean the house, though frankly, the results aren't always impressive, don't we, dear? Sophia giggles nervously. not looking me in the eye. Ethan always says that when he comes to see you, he feels like wearing booties. I feel the blood drain from my face. They're not just giving me a rag. They're publicly humiliating me in front of strangers on my birthday. I see, I say quietly, placing the rag on the table. Oh, and that's not all. Ethan waves his hands theatrically. Sophia and I decided that you needed a personal au pair, so we paid for a housekeeper to come in once a week and really clean up your mess. I stare at them in mute amazement. Do they think I'm so worthless that I can't even clean my own house? Thank you, I say mechanically, very thoughtful. You're welcome, Mommy. Ethan raises his glass. To Eleanor, the worst cleaning lady, but the best mother-in-law. The guests awkwardly raise their glasses. I see Maria Larson avert her eyes in embarrassment. Even this strange woman is ashamed of what's going on. Excuse me. I rise from the table. I need to go to the ladies' room for a minute. I run across the hall. Tears welling up in my eyes. Not from resentment, but from rage. How could I have let them treat me like this for so many years? How could I play the role of a humble old woman when in reality I run a multi-million-dollar business, respected in the business world, making decisions that affect the lives of thousands of people? In the restroom, I splash cold water on my face, trying not to smudge my makeup. The mirror reflects a woman with a straight back and a determined look. Not a useless old woman, but Eleanor Brooks, CEO of Brooks Construction. Enough, I say to my reflection. Stop pretending. I walk back to the table with my head held high. Ethan continues to tell some story, waving his arms. He doesn't interrupt at my appearance, just nods nonchalantly. Wait, and then I said to the client, sir, even if your house was made of asbestos and was in a flood zone, I would still find a way to insure it. He laughs loudly at his own joke. I sit down and pick up the dessert menu the waiter brought in my absence. No one at the table asks if I'm okay. I don't exist to them except as an object for jokes. Are you okay, Mom? Sophia finally asks, but there's no genuine concern in her voice. Of course. I answer dryly. I'm just a little tired. It's normal at your age. Ethan inserts with fake sympathy. Maybe we should have celebrated at an earlier hour, say 400 in the afternoon with an early dinner for the seniors. He laughs, and Sophia hesitantly joins him. The other guests look increasingly uncomfortable. I think we could all use a little sweetness, Maria says, clearly trying to change the subject. Eleanor, what would you recommend? You've been to this restaurant before, haven't you? I don't think so, Ethan snorts. Silver Haven isn't really in Eleanor's price range. It's not her style either. No early retirement discounts here. I clench my teeth but continue to remain silent. I feel like getting up and leaving, but something is holding me back. Maybe a masochistic desire to see how low they can fall, or the hope that Sophia will come to her senses and stand up for me. Actually, I say, finally deciding to answer Maria, I recommend the chocolate fondant. It's excellent here. Oh, you've been here before? She asks in surprise. I have. I answer briefly without going into details. When did you go to Silver Haven? Sophia asks suspiciously. It's the most expensive restaurant in Glendale. I have my secrets, darling. I allow myself a slight smile. Ethan rolls his eyes. Those older people and their imaginary adventures. Next time she'll tell me she flew to the moon with Neil Armstrong. I'm ready to respond, but at that moment, a waiter comes to our table with a cake. A big, elegant cake with a single candle in the middle, just like the one I asked Lauren to order. Happy birthday, Miss Brooks, the waiter says, placing the cake in front of me. Ethan and Sophia exchange surprised looks. How do you know her name? Ethan asks suspiciously. I didn't specify it when I made the reservation. The waiter, a young guy of about 23, looks confused. I thought it was standard information in the reservation system. Sir, he's clearly lying and not very skillfully. Lauren must have mentioned my name when she ordered the cake after all. Anyway, thank you very much, I say to the waiter with a smile. The cake looks great. Only the best for you, Miss Brooks, he replies, and there's genuine respect in his voice. Ethan squints, looking at the waiter. What do you mean, only the best? Have you met my mother-in-law? The waiter pales. No, sir, just an expression of courtesy. I apologize if I gave the wrong impression. He hurriedly steps away, and I mentally sigh in relief. A little more and my cover might have been blown, but honestly, at this point I'm almost hoping for it. A young waiter approaches our table carrying water. Wait, he exclaims, looking at me. I know you. You're the CEO of the company across the street from our restaurant. Brooks Construction. There is absolute silence. Ethan freezes with his fork halfway to his mouth. Sophia goes pale. The guests look at me in bewilderment. Of course, The waiter continues enthusiastically. I saw you when I interviewed for your office last spring. You personally conducted the final round. I didn't pass, but it was such an experience. You are an amazing woman, Miss Brooks. I sigh. It's done. Thank you. I say quietly. Yes, I remember that interview. You did well, we just had too many applicants. Is that true? Sophia looks at me like she's seeing a ghost. You're a company director? Ethan lets out a nervous chuckle. This is some kind of ridiculous mistake. My mother-in-law was a secretary, not a director. Young man, you're confusing her with someone else. No, sir. The waiter shakes his head. I'll never forget Miss Brooks. She's a legend in the Glendale construction business. A tall, gray-haired man in a chef's suit approaches the table. Victor Ramsey himself. Good evening, he says. I hope you're enjoying your dinner. It's delicious, Maria replies. Especially the cake. I'm glad you like it. Victor smiles. I personally supervised its preparation. Only the best for special guests. Thank you, Ethan says importantly. We really appreciate this kind of attention. I'm Ethan Caldwell, an insurance agent with Global Insurance. It's a pleasure to meet you. Victor replies politely. But I take it, he continues, looking at me, that we have a real Glendale star at the table tonight. He smiles at me respectfully. Is it true you're the CEO of Brooks Construction, Ms. Brooks? James Larson asks, looking at me with renewed interest. I look at Ethan and Sophia's shocked faces. 20 years of lies are coming to an end. Yes, I say simply. I'm the founder, CEO, and majority owner of Brooks Construction. Oh my God. Maria presses her hand to her mouth. You're Ev the Eleanor Brooks. I read about you in Glendale Business. Sophia looks like she's about to faint. Why didn't you ever tell us? Her voice is shaking. All these years, you let you think I was just a simple old woman. I chuckle bitterly and look at how you've treated me. With contempt, with derision. I pick up the yellow rag Ethan handed me. For the worst cleaning lady ever? That's how you saw your mother and mother-in-law, like a maid who can't even do her job. Ethan looks like he's about to throw up. He looks back at his bosses, who look at him with undisguised contempt. I didn't know, he mumbles. It was just a joke? A very bad joke? Caldwell, James Larson says dryly. Very disrespectful? Miss Brooks, Victor intervenes. Let me wish you a happy birthday again. We are proud that you have chosen our restaurant to celebrate. I turn to the others present. I believe dinner is over. Thank you all for your company. I rise from the table. Ethan and Sophia stare at me in a daze. Mom, Sophia jumps up. We have to talk about this. You can't just walk away. I can. I answer calmly and I walk away. For 20 years, I've lived a double life, hiding my accomplishments, my pride, my power. For what? For people who saw me as nothing more than a useless old woman. I turn to leave, but Ethan suddenly jumps up and grabs my arm. Wait, Miss Brooks. His tone has changed completely. Now it's ingratiating and fake warm. I don't understand why you're upset. It was just an innocent joke. Of course, if I had known who you really were. Exactly. I snatch my hand away. If you knew who I really was, you'd be licking my shoes instead of giving me a floor cloth. But you know what, Ethan? You didn't treat me like dirt because you thought I was poor or unsuccessful. It's because you thought I was old and therefore useless. Money isn't going to change that. I turn to Sophia. I love you, daughter. I always have. But I will no longer be the woman you both despised. With those words, I walk out of the restaurant, leaving behind a dazed crowd and a yellow rag on the table. As I pass the maitre, I smile at him. A lovely dinner. Please send the bill to my office. Stepping outside, I take a deep breath of the evening air. Across the street, the windows of my office glow. My real world, my real life. I hear quick footsteps behind me. I turn around and it's Sophia. Mommy, please, she cries. Let's talk. I don't understand what's happening. I look at her for a long moment. I didn't understand either, Sophia. I didn't understand how my own daughter could be so cold to her mother. I see now that it wasn't about money or status. It was about respect, which you didn't have. A panting Ethan comes running out of the restaurant, followed by the embarrassed Larsons and the Pierces. Miss Brooks, Ethan smiles obsequiously. I want to apologize profusely for the misunderstanding. Of course, if I had known of your status. That's the problem, Ethan. I interrupt him. You judge people by their status. The rich deserve respect. The poor deserve contempt. Old people deserve ridicule. Young people deserve attention. That's not how real life works. I look at James Larson. Mr. Larson, it was a pleasure to meet you and your wife. Perhaps we'll meet again at some business event. It would be an honor, Miss Brooks, he replies seriously. And please accept my apologies for my subordinate's behavior, Mom. Sophia tries to move closer to me again. What happens now to us? To you. I look at her, at Ethan, at my company building brightly lit in the evening gloom. I don't know, Sophia. Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is that I will no longer live a double life. No more pretending to be less than I am. And no more will I let anyone, not even you, treat me with disrespect. I turn around and cross the street, heading toward my company building, feeling the stares of the entire company on me. A mixture of relief and bitterness overwhelms me. 20 years of pretending is over. What's gonna happen next? I don't know. But for the first time in a long time, I feel truly free. I don't go home after the humiliating dinner. Instead, I go up to my office, where I turn on the light and sit in my chair, looking out the window at Silver Haven. From my seat, I can see Sophia and Ethan still standing in front of the restaurant, clearly confused and shocked. Finally, they get in their car and drive away. I dial Lauren's number. Miss Brooks? I hear surprise in her voice. Are you in the office? How was dinner? It's over, Lauren. I answer, feeling a strange emptiness inside. They know. Oh. Lauren is silent for a moment. Should I come over? You don't have to. I just wanted to give you a heads up. My daughter or son-in-law may probably show up at the office door soon. Don't let them in my office unannounced. Sure. You want me to keep them out altogether? I'm thinking about it. No, I think this conversation is inevitable, but I want to be prepared for it. After talking to Lauren, I open my desk drawer and pull out the bottle of good whiskey I keep for special occasions. I pour myself a small portion and sip it slowly, analyzing the events of the evening. I feel a strange mix of emotions: relief that I don't have to pretend anymore, bitterness at Sophia's reaction, anger at Ethan, and, most surprisingly, some childish resentment toward the world. Why did I have to hide my success? Why did I have to diminish myself to make others more comfortable? Why couldn't my own daughter just be proud of me? The ringing of the phone interrupts my musings. Sophia. I hesitate, then answer it. Yes, Mom. Her voice sounds unfamiliar. Scared and unsure, are you? I'm at the office, I answer briefly. In the office, she repeats as if tasting the word. Your office? The CEO's? Exactly. Mom, we need to tie a greet. But not today. I'm tired. But, she stammers. But we can't just leave it at that. You kept this from us. You've been lying to us for years. I clutch the phone tighter. This is it. This is exactly the reaction I was expecting. Interesting interpretation. Sophia, my voice grows colder. I didn't lie. I just didn't disclose information to people who, as it turns out, quite rightly didn't deserve it. What do you mean they didn't deserve it? Now there's indignation in her voice. I'm your daughter. Ethan is your son-in-law. We're family. A family shouldn't keep secrets like that. A family also shouldn't give their mother a floor cloth for her birthday and publicly humiliate her. I parry. But that didn't stop you, did it? There's silence on the other end of the line. It was just a joke. Sophia finally says uncertainly. Ethan was just kidding. A joke. I laugh unhappily. You know, Sophia, jokes are usually funny. They make you laugh, not feel humiliated. And if you thought a rag that said, "For the worst cleaning lady," was a fitting gift for your mother on her 69th birthday, I've got news for you. You have a terrible sense of humor. You're exaggerating everything. Sophia raises her voice. You've always been overly sensitive.
Yeah.
Ethan and I shouldn't have celebrated your birthday at all. We could have just sent a card, but we spent money on a restaurant. On a gift, a present. I can't believe what I'm hearing. You call a rag a gift? A rag that cost $5. Do you know how much that restaurant you so generously agreed to go to cost? And you didn't pay a dime, Sophia. I made the reservations. I ordered the cake. I paid the bill. Sophia sobs. You're unfair. We didn't know that you. That I'm a successful businesswoman and not a useless old woman. Is that an excuse? If you knew I was rich, would you treat me with respect? It's worse than that, Sophia. It means you only respect status and money, not the person. You've got it all wrong, Sophia shouts. You're distorting everything. You've been hiding the truth from us for years, and now you're angry that we're shocked, that we're confused. How could you, Mom? How could you keep us in the dark? I take a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. Tomorrow, Sophia, come with Ethan to my office tomorrow morning at 10:00. We'll talk then. Right now, I'm too tired and upset, but see you tomorrow. I end the call and turn off the phone. I'm not going home tonight. I don't want to risk running into Sophia and Ethan if they decide to wait for me there. There's a couch in the office that I sometimes lounge on during busy projects. It's fine for one night. In the morning, I'm awakened by an internal phone ringing. Lauren, Miss Brooks, did you spend the night here? Yes, Lauren. I stretch. feeling my back stiffen. 69 isn't the best age to sleep on the couch. Any news? Your daughter has called 3 times since 8 this morning. I said you'd be available at 10 as you requested? Thank you. I get up and walk to the small bathroom adjacent to my office. Do I have a spare set of clothes here? Yes, in the closet. I'll make some coffee and get some croissants from the cafe across the hall. You're a real treasure, Lauren. At exactly 9:45, Lauren calls again. Miss Brooks? Your daughter and son-in-law are here. Would you show them out, please? I sit at my desk, straight collected, in a strict dark gray suit with light makeup and neat hair. CEO Eleanor Brooks, not a mommy with a floor cloth. The door opens and Sophia and Ethan walk in. My daughter looks like she hasn't slept well. Eyes red, hair hastily styled. Ethan, on the other hand, seems unusually neat, even dorky in his best suit. He has clearly been preparing for this meeting. Good morning, I say in a steady voice. Have a seat. They sit down in the chairs across from my desk. Sophia glances around nervously, looking at my office, spacious, with expensive furniture, paintings on the walls, and an impressive view out the window. Ethan tries to keep his face casual, but I can see him sweating. Mom? Sophia begins uncertainly. Well, we're here to talk. I'm listening to you. I reply neutrally. Sophia casts a helpless glance at Ethan, who clears his throat and assumes a business-like demeanor. Miss Brooks? He says in a formal tone. Completely different from the way he usually addressed me. First of all, let me offer our deepest apologies for yesterday's incident. It was a terrible misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? I raise an eyebrow. Yes? Ethan nods with a serious look. You see, if we had known about your status, we would never have allowed ourselves such familiarity. That rag joke was stupid and inappropriate. Sophia and I have spent the entire night discussing the situation, and we want to assure you that from now on, we will treat you with the respect you undoubtedly deserve as a successful businesswoman and a powerful figure in the community. I stare at him for a long moment, then turn my eyes to Sophia, who nods nervously, supporting her husband. Understand, I say slowly. So, if I were really just a retired former secretary, a floor cloth and public humiliation would be in order. Ethan is momentarily lost. Such a turn of conversation was clearly not in his plans. No, he stammers. I didn't mean. What did you mean, Ethan? I'm leaning forward. Explain it to me, please. Because from the outside, it seems like you're just changing your attitude toward me now, that you know I'm rich and powerful, and that, is not a very flattering characterization of you as a person. Ethan blushes and pales at the same time. Sophia intervenes, trying to save the day. Mom, you've got it all wrong. Ethan and I are just shocked. You kept such an important part of your life from us. All these years you've been pretending to be someone else. How do you think it makes me feel to know that my mother is a successful CEO and not the woman I've known all my life? And what woman have you known all your life? Sophia, I ask quietly. Describe her. Sophia hesitates. Well, quiet, modest, homely, a woman who lived a simple life, a home, a garden. And this was a woman you respected, appreciated, were proud of. Sophia glances again at Ethan, who is diligently studying his shoes. Yeah, loved you, Mom. Of course you did. Loved you, I say again. But I didn't respect you. I didn't appreciate you. I didn't consider you an equal because a quiet, humble, homely woman doesn't deserve the same respect as a successful CEO, doesn't she? You're being unfair. Sophia raises her voice. You're turning everything around. You've been lying to us for years, and now you're accusing us of reacting the wrong way. I didn't lie. I answer calmly. I just didn't tell you everything. And I'm not blaming you for today's reaction. I'm blaming you for years of attitude, that you thought it was acceptable to humiliate me publicly. That you couldn't spend one evening a month with me without constantly reprimanding me, criticizing me, condescending to me. The fact that my own son-in-law thought it was okay to give me a floor cloth for my birthday, and my daughter saw nothing wrong with it. Sophia starts to cry. Ethan finally looks up and tries to speak in a business-like tone again. Miss Brooks, let's start over. Sophia and I admit that we made a mistake. We were insensitive to your feelings. But on the other hand, you withheld such significant information from us. It undermines the foundation of family trust. Trust in the family, I chuckle. That's an interesting concept, Ethan. What about respect in the family? Dignity, basic courtesy? Or do these concepts only apply to family members of high social status? Ethan is lost again. Sophia continues to cry, but through her tears, I see not remorse but resentment. She resents me for cheating on her, for ruining their relationship with Ethan's bosses, for shattering her comfortable illusion of me as a good daughter taking care of poor old mommy. What do you want us to do, Mom? She finally asks. What are you trying to accomplish with this conversation? I want you to realize, I say quietly, that status, money, position, none of these things determine a person's worth. That an elderly woman living a modest life deserves the same respect as the CEO of a large company. That your mother and mother-in-law, regardless of her profession or bank account, deserves better treatment than the one you showed me. But we understand that. Mom, Sophia exclaims. Of course we understand that. No, I shake my head. You don't. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here apologizing just because you found out about my money. You would have apologized yesterday in the restaurant when you saw my reaction to your gift, even before you knew who I really was. Ethan finally loses his business-like tone. What the hell do you want from us? We came to apologize. We admit we did wrong. What more do you expect? Understanding, I reply simply. I want you to understand exactly what you did wrong. You don't understand. There's silence. I look out the window at the city that has grown in part because of my company. Then I shift my gaze to the picture on the table. Little Sophia in her school uniform, smiling at me. When did everything change? When did my loving daughter turn into this cold, calculating woman? I suggest we all take a break. I say finally. You need time to process the situation. I need time to decide how to move forward. Ethan immediately tenses up. What do you mean how to move on? I mean my life, Ethan, I answer calmly. For 20 years I've lived a double life. Now it's over and I have to decide what that means for my future. But nothing must change, Sophia exclaims. Well, just know what you really do. Everything else can stay the same. The same? I raise an eyebrow. Do you really think that after last night? I'm gonna want things to stay the same. For you and Ethan to keep coming over to my house once a week, criticizing my life, making jokes about my age, giving me floor cloths. Only now you'll do it with fake smiles because you know I'm rich. No, Sophia protests. Of course not. We're gonna change. We'll treat you better. Because I'm rich. I finish for her. Not because I'm your mother. Not because I deserve respect as a human being. Sophia suddenly straightens up, wipes away her tears, and looks at me with sudden coldness. Okay, Mom, you're right. Ethan and I have been horrible to you. We're bad, ungrateful children. You've certainly been the perfect mother, except for lying to me all my life. What do you want to do now? End the relationship? Disown me? I look at her, feeling my heart clench with pain. My daughter, my only daughter, and she sees only herself in this situation, only her hurt, only her righteousness. No, Sophia, I say quietly. I don't want to end the relationship. I want it to change. I want us to treat each other with respect. I stand up, signaling that this conversation is over. One more thing, I add, looking directly at Ethan. James Larson called me this morning. Ethan instantly tenses up. Mr. Larson? Yes. He apologized for the incident yesterday. Said he was ashamed to have witnessed it. And he also mentioned that your company is restructuring. Apparently, some positions will be cut. Ethan's face turns white as chalk. Reduced. Mostly those, he said, were inconsistent with the company's corporate ethics. Interesting wording, don't you think? Ethan opens his mouth but doesn't make a sound. Sophia shifts her gaze from me to her husband. What does that mean? Ethan could lose his job? I shrug my shoulders. I don't know the details. I don't meddle in the affairs of insurance companies. Ethan looks at me with panic in his eyes. Miss Brooks, would you mind talking to Mr. Larson? Put in a good word for me. I'm looking at him closely. There he is, the real Ethan? A coward, willing to humiliate those he deems useless and grovel before the strong. Maybe, I answer evenly, but we all need time first. Time to figure out what our relationship will be like in the future. Time to decide if you deserve my support. I see Ethan literally shrink back in his chair. Sophia looks at me with hatred. This is what you've always wanted, isn't it, Mom? Power over us? The ability to dictate terms? No, Sophia, I answer tiredly. All I ever wanted was for my daughter to love and respect me simply for being her mother. Not for money, not for status, not for influence. Just for what I am. I step around the table and head for the door. I think that's enough for today. Lauren will see you out. Mom, Sophia jumps up. You can't just leave. We're not done. We are. Sophia, I say without turning around. You've said your piece, and I've said mine. Now we all need time to reassess the situation. I'll call you in a few days. I walk out of the office, leaving them with their mouths hanging open. In the waiting room, Lauren looks at me questioningly. Is everything okay? It will be fine, I answer. Show them out, please. I'm going for a walk. I need some fresh air. The sun is shining brightly outside. I walk through the business district, Past buildings, many of them built by my company. People nod at me. Some say hello by name. Here in the business world, I am a respected woman. My accomplishments are valued. My opinion carries weight. At home with my own daughter, I was nothing. A useless old woman who could be given a floor cloth for her birthday. Now, for the first time in 20 years, I realized that my decision to hide my success was not a defense against self-interest. It was a form of self-deception. I allowed myself to believe that my daughter loved me for nothing, without conditions. And when it became clear that she didn't, that she and Ethan only saw me as an old, worthless woman, I chose to endure the humiliation rather than admit the bitter truth. But now everything's changed. The masks are off, and I see the true faces of my relatives, petty, selfish, ready to humiliate the weak and grovel before the strong. And this is perhaps the most painful discovery of my life. I stop at a store window and look at my reflection. 69 years old, straight back, clear eyes. A woman who built an empire and raised a daughter who turned out to be a stranger. Well, maybe it's not too late to change things. Maybe this is a chance to start a new chapter in my life. A chapter where I will live for myself, without masks or compromise. I pull out my cell phone and call Lauren. Please put a meeting with a realtor on my schedule. I want to look at new housing options. Also, schedule a meeting with a lawyer. I need to review my will. The next 2 weeks pass in a strange daze. I am completely immersed in my work, trying not to think about what happened. But thoughts of talking to my daughter and son-in-law keep coming back, especially in the evenings when I am alone in my big, empty house. I don't call Sophia, even though I promised I would. I need time to sort myself out, my feelings, what I really want. Sophia doesn't call either. Resentment or pride won't let her make the first move. Saturday morning, I wake up earlier than usual, make myself a strong cup of tea, and go out into the garden. It's mid-spring. Everything is in bloom. The air is full of fragrance and freshness. I sit on a bench under the old apple tree I planted 20 years ago when I first bought this house and try to organize my thoughts. All my life, I've sacrificed myself for others. First for Daniel, supporting him when he decided to start his own business, working with him to build a company from scratch. Then for Sophia. After Daniel died, I did everything I could to make sure she didn't feel left out, that she got the best education, the best opportunities. And finally, I had endured years of humiliation and disrespect, hiding my success, my strength, my pride for the sake of maintaining the semblance of a family relationship. And what did I get in return? A daughter who sees in me only a worthless old woman, worthy at best of pity. A son-in-law who thinks it's okay to abuse an old woman. Lonely evenings in an empty house filled with bitterness and regret. It's time to face the obvious. I deserve better. I deserve respect, dignity, a genuine relationship. And if my own daughter isn't capable of giving me that, maybe it's time to look elsewhere for happiness. I finish my tea and go back inside. On the table is the file folder I brought from the office yesterday. A company expansion project I've been thinking about for months. Opening a branch in San Diego, entering a new market, new opportunities. I used to hesitate, not wanting to leave Glendale because of Sophia. Now those doubts seem ridiculous. My daughter is unlikely to notice my absence unless I need money or connections. All day I work on the project, sketching plans, making calculations. By evening, the decision is final. I will open a branch office in San Diego and move there myself for the first time to oversee the process. It's not an escape. It's a new challenge, a new chapter in my life. I call Lauren to share my thoughts. San Diego? I can hear the surprise in her voice. Are you sure, Miss Brooks? Absolutely. I answer firmly. We've put this project on hold for too long. It's time to act. What about your family? Lauren stammers. I grin bitterly. My family, Lauren, has made it clear to me that they don't really need me, except for my money and connections. Don't say that, she says quietly. Maybe they just need time to realize their mistakes. Maybe? I agree without much conviction. But I'm not going to wait for them to wake up anymore. I've lived long enough to know that people rarely change, especially if they don't see the need to. After talking to Lauren, I sit in my office for a long time, looking at the pictures on the walls. Here I am with a team of engineers at the opening of our first major project. Here I am shaking hands with the mayor of Glendale at the groundbreaking ceremony for a new apartment complex. Here I am receiving the Businesswoman of the Year award from the Chamber of Commerce. So many accomplishments, so much pride, and none of it I could share with my own daughter. The phone rings, interrupting my thoughts. Sophia's number pops up on the screen. I hesitate for a few seconds, then answer it. Yes, Mom. Her voice sounds unusually soft. Huh, I'm fine. I answer with restraint. And you? I'm fine. She pauses. Mom, I've been thinking about our last conversation. Maybe we should get together, have a calm, unemotional conversation. Something in her tone alarms me. It's too sweet, too cloying. I agree. When? Maybe tomorrow, she suggests hastily. Ethan and I could stop by your place, or we could take you to lunch. A neutral location would be better, I say. Like the Blue Ivy Cafe at 2 in the afternoon. Okay, Sophia agrees. 200 at the Blue Ivy. Ethan and I will be waiting for you. See you tomorrow. I end the conversation, feeling strangely empty inside. There's no joy at the prospect of reconciliation, no anxiety at the possibility of confrontation, only fatigue and a vague suspicion. The next day, I arrive at the cafe at exactly 200. Sophia and Ethan are already waiting for me at a table in the corner. Both of them smile unnaturally when I approach. Ethan even stands up and pulls back his chair from me, a gesture I've never seen from him before. Mom, it's so good of you to come. Sophia takes my hand. We've missed you so much. I look at her carefully. 2 weeks ago she was yelling at me, accusing me of lying and manipulation, and now she's missed me. And it's good to see you. How are you two doing? Sophia and Ethan exchange quick glances. Not very well, actually. Ethan begins with a nervous smile. You see, Mom, the company has indeed started restructuring, as you said, and my position is in jeopardy. That's it. I can see why they suddenly missed me. I'm sorry to hear that, I say calmly. Mom, Sophia intervenes, Ethan and I have been thinking a lot about what happened, about our behavior. You were right. We were disrespectful to you. It's unforgivable. We were immature and selfish. Ethan picks up on it with a look of deep remorse on his face. Especially me. That joke with the rag, it was awful. I don't know what came over me. I look at them and I can see right through it. The fake smiles, the feigned remorse, the calculating glint in their eyes. They haven't changed. They just realized I could be useful. I appreciate your apology, I say with restraint. I hope it's sincere. Of course it's sincere, Sophia exclaims. Mom, Ethan and I have really rethought our behavior. We want to make things right. A clean slate. And how do you see that happening? I ask, leaning back in my chair. Sophia glances again at Ethan, who clears his throat. We thought we could spend more time together like a real family. Maybe not just the weekly dinners, but other activities. He pauses. For example, you could introduce us to your business associates. Show us your world. That's it. Not, we want to get to know you better, Mom, but introduce us to your business partners. Not, we value you as a person, but we want access to your world. That's an interesting suggestion, I respond neutrally. What else would you like to change about our relationship? Sophia leans closer. Mom, we're so sorry we didn't know about your success sooner. We could have been closer all these years. You could have shared your projects with us, your plans. We could have helped you. Help. I raise an eyebrow. In what way? Well, I'm pretty good with finances, Ethan says hastily. And Sophia, she has great taste. She could consult on interior design for your projects. I can barely contain my laughter. Ethan, who couldn't advance beyond the position of insurance salesman in 3 years, considers himself a finance expert. Sophia, who never showed any interest in design, is suddenly an expert. I'll consider your offer, I say calmly. By the way, I have news too. I've decided to open a branch office in San Diego. San Diego? Sophia looks surprised. But that's so far away, 3 hours away. I shrug. It's not that far. Besides, I'm planning on moving there for a while. Maybe even permanently. Mauve. Sophia looks worried now. But Mom, why? Your home is here. Your family? My family? I look her straight in the eye. Hasn't really needed me these past few years, and this new project requires my personal presence. But this is so sudden, Sophia says. You've never mentioned moving before. A lot has changed in the last few weeks, I reply. I've been rethinking a lot of things. But what about us? Sophia's voice turns pitiful. We're just starting to rebuild our relationship. And you're already planning to leave. Relationships don't depend on geography, Sophia, I say calmly. If we really want to be closer, a 3-hour drive won't hurt. Of course it will, Ethan interjects hastily. We'll come to you in San Diego, or you can come to us in Glendale. The important thing is that we'll be a real family again. I look at his smiling face, and all I see is falseness. The same man who called me old mommy and made fun of my worthless life is now posing as a loving son-in-law. It's ironic. Speaking of family, Sophia says suddenly, we have a surprise for you, Mom. Ethan and I have decided it's time to think about kids. I look up in surprise. Sophia had never talked about wanting children before. On the contrary, she'd always emphasized that her career was more important to her. It's unexpected, I say carefully. I thought you didn't want children? We've changed our minds, Sophia smiles. Can you imagine? You're going to be a grandmother. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I look at her radiant face and feel a strange emptiness. My daughter, who 2 weeks ago yelled at me, accusing me of all my sins, is now announcing plans to give me a grandchild. All this after learning about my financial situation. Coincidence? I don't think so. It's a big decision, I say neutrally. Are you sure you're ready? Absolutely. Ethan takes Sophia's hand. We've already started planning. Of course, we'll have to think about a bigger house. The kids need room to grow. This is it. I can almost hear the clinking of coins in his head. A bigger house, which of course I will have to pay for. And we also thought, Sophia continues, that you could help us with the down payment. Like an investment in your grandson's future. I look at them both and feel the last of my illusions crumble. They haven't changed. They just saw me as a new source of funding for their lives. I'll think about it, I say calmly. Right now, I have a lot of expenses associated with the new project. But Mom, Sophia looks disappointed. This is your future grandchild. Is business more important than family? That's an interesting question, Sophia. I answer, looking her straight in the eye. Especially since 2 weeks ago you were accusing me of lying and manipulation. And today you're already asking me for money for a house for a grandchild you haven't even conceived yet. Sophia blushes but quickly pulls herself together. I thought we were starting fresh. Forgetting past wrongs? Forgetting, maybe. I nod, but not making the same old mistakes is a definite must. I won't be in a toxic relationship anymore, Sophia. Not even for the sake of hypothetical grandchildren. Toxic relationships. Sophia looks genuinely surprised. What are you talking about? We're trying to connect, and you're pushing us away. I'm not pushing you away, I reply calmly. I just see right through you. You didn't come because you realized your mistakes, or because you really missed me. You came because Ethan might lose his job, and you need money for a new house. You haven't changed. You just saw me as a new resource. Ethan starts to protest indignantly, but Sophia gestures for him to stop. Okay, Mom, she says with cold fury. You're right. Ethan and I have been horrible to you. We're bad, ungrateful children. You've certainly been the perfect mother, except for lying to me all my life. What do you want to do now? End the relationship, disown me? I look at her, feeling my heart clench with pain. My daughter, my only daughter, and she sees only herself in this situation, only her hurt, only her righteousness. No, Sophia, I say quietly. I don't want to end the relationship. I want it to change. I want us to treat each other with respect. I stand up, signaling that this conversation is over. One more thing, I add, looking directly at Ethan. James Larson called me this morning. Ethan instantly tenses up. Mr. Larson. Yes. He apologized for the incident yesterday. Said he was ashamed to have witnessed it. And he also mentioned that your company is restructuring. Apparently, some positions will be cut. Ethan's face turns white as chalk. Reduced? Yes. Mostly those, he said, were inconsistent with the company's corporate ethics. Interesting wording, don't you think? Ethan opens his mouth but doesn't make a sound. Sophia shifts her gaze from me to her husband. What does that mean? Ethan could lose his job. I shrug my shoulders. I don't know the details. I don't meddle in the affairs of insurance companies. Ethan looks at me with panic in his eyes. Miss Brooks, would you mind talking to Mr. Larson? Put in a good word for me? I'm looking at him closely. There he is, the real Ethan. A coward willing to humiliate those he deems useless and grovel before the strong. Maybe? I answer evenly. But we all need time first. Time to figure out what our relationship will be like in the future. Time to decide if you deserve my support. I see Ethan literally shrink back in his chair. Sophia looks at me with hatred. This is what you've always wanted, isn't it, Mom? Power over us? The ability to dictate terms? No, Sophia, I answer tiredly. All I ever wanted was for my daughter to love and respect me simply for being her mother. Not for money, not for status, not for influence, just for what I am. I step around the table and head for the door. I think that's enough for today. Mom, Sophia jumps up. You can't just leave. We're not done. We are, Sophia, I say without turning around. You've said your piece, and I've said mine. Now we all need time to reassess the situation. I'll call you in a few days. I walk out of the office, leaving them with their mouths hanging open. In the waiting room, Lauren looks at me questioningly. Is everything okay? It will be fine, I answer. Show them out, please. I'm going for a walk. I need some fresh air. The sun is shining brightly outside. I walk through the business district, past buildings, many of them built by my company. People nod at me. Some say hello by name. Here in the business world, I am a respected woman. My accomplishments are valued. My opinion carries weight. At home with my own daughter, I was nothing. A useless old woman who could be given a floor cloth for her birthday. Now, for the first time in 20 years, I realized that my decision to hide my success was not a defense against self-interest. It was a form of self-deception. I allowed myself to believe that my daughter loved me for nothing, without conditions. And when it became clear that she didn't, that she and Ethan only saw me as an old, worthless woman, I chose to endure the humiliation rather than admit the bitter truth. But now everything's changed. The masks are off, and I see the true faces of my relatives, petty, selfish, ready to humiliate the weak and grovel before the strong. And this is perhaps the most painful discovery of my life. I stop at a store window and look at my reflection. 69 years old, straight back, clear eyes. A woman who built an empire and raised a daughter who turned out to be a stranger. Well, maybe it's not too late to change things. Maybe this is a chance to start a new chapter in my life. A chapter where I will live for myself, without masks or compromise. I pull out my cell phone and call Lauren. Please put a meeting with a realtor on my schedule. I want to look at new housing options. Also, schedule a meeting with a lawyer. I need to review my will. The next 2 weeks pass in a strange daze. I am completely immersed in my work, trying not to think about what happened. But thoughts of talking to my daughter and son-in-law keep coming back, especially in the evenings when I am alone in my big, empty house. I don't call Sophia, even though I promised I would. I need time to sort myself out, my feelings, what I really want. Sophia doesn't call either. Resentment or pride won't let her make the first move. Saturday morning, I wake up earlier than usual, make myself a strong cup of tea, and go out into the garden. It's mid-spring. Everything is in bloom. The air is full of fragrance and freshness. I sit on a bench under the old apple tree I planted 20 years ago when I first bought this house and try to organize my thoughts. All my life, I've sacrificed myself for others. First for Daniel, supporting him when he decided to start his own business, working with him to build a company from scratch. Then for Sophia, after Daniel died, I did everything I could to make sure she didn't feel left out, that she got the best education, the best opportunities. And finally, I had endured years of humiliation and disrespect, hiding my success, my strength, my pride for the sake of maintaining the semblance of a family relationship. And what did I get in return? A daughter who sees in me only a worthless old woman, worthy at best of pity. A son-in-law who thinks it's okay to abuse an old woman. Lonely evenings in an empty house filled with bitterness and regret. It's time to face the obvious. I deserve better. I deserve respect, dignity, a genuine relationship. And if my own daughter isn't capable of giving me that, maybe it's time to look elsewhere for happiness. I finish my tea and go back inside. On the table is the file folder I brought from the office yesterday. A company expansion project I've been thinking about for months. Opening a branch in San Diego. Entering a new market, new opportunities. I used to hesitate, not wanting to leave Glendale because of Sophia. Now those doubts seem ridiculous. My daughter is unlikely to notice my absence unless she needs money or connections. All day I work on the project, sketching plans, making calculations. By evening, the decision is final. I will open a branch office in San Diego and move there myself for the first time to oversee the process. It's not an escape, it's a new challenge, a new chapter in my life. I call Lauren to share my thoughts. San Diego, I can hear the surprise in her voice. Are you sure, Miss Brooks? Absolutely. I answer firmly. We've put this project on hold for too long. It's time to act. What about your family? Lauren stammers.